8-man mountains, 6 very traditional events, 1 spooky Scottish palace, and this, the sword that everyone wants to get their hands on. It's the Highlander Challenge.
On the banks of the River Tay, 2,000 years ago, the Romans camped here at the strategic place that's now Scone Palace. Scottish kings have been crowned here, and it's the spiritual home of the Stone of Destiny.
Today, whose destiny is it to become the Chieftain's champion? Champion athletes from all over the world have answered the call to come here to compete for the title of the greatest Highlander of them all. In Heat 1, we saw Scott Ryder, Gregor Edmunds, Sean Betts and Dave Barron all go through to the final. But what's going to happen in Heat 2? I know what will happen. It's an epic battle. Before all that kicks off, let's start things with the traditional parade. It's Heat 2 and these men have the sole ambition of toppling the current champion, Sebastian Wenta.
I lay down the challenge for any man to take this sword from the champion, the King's champion.
I am champion Highlander!
Let the games begin.
Let's meet our 8 challengers.
Sebastian Wenta, Poland, 165 kilo. I am champion. I'm Kyrllo Chuprinin, Ukraine, 160 kilo. I'm professional athlete.
Mike Zolkjewicz, 31 years old, personal trainer, Springfield, Massachusetts. 120 kilos, 6'4".
Mark Felix, 42 years old. I come from Blackburn, England. I'm originally from Grenada. I'm 6'2", 140 kilos.
I'm Wout Zijlstra from Holland, Friesland. I'm 6'6", 145 kilos. I'm meat inspector. I was a bagger!
Stefan Petursson, 22 years old, security guard, 6'4", 325 pounds, from Iceland.
Neil Eliott, Ellsworth, Scotland, 37 years old, 130 kilos, 6'3", paint and decorator.
Johannes Årsjö from Sweden, 23 years old, 140 kilo, and I'm the Viking invader.
Now the mace was a spiked weapon used to rip off the enemy's flesh, but today's equivalent is a 28-pound implement thrown for distance, and they use a turning technique to increase that distance, which I think you'll agree makes the kilt look rather pretty. Oh, blimey, that is heavy.
1522, the Niches raided the McNab herds. Clan chief Finlay McNab raised his men in revenge and marched them here to Glenbaltigan, where they threw off their plaids and charged the Niches naked. Maces held high. The Niches fell like ninepins and the clan chief was killed. I'm standing here on a rock around which the bloody battle took place. The red lichen on the rocks is said to represent the blood spilt by the Niches.
Well, let's hope there's no blood spilt today. Let's join our commentary team of Colin Bryce and Hamish Davidson.
Johannes Årsjö from Sweden. It's of course not a traditional event in Sweden, and Johannes, just 22 years old, getting to grips with it here. Hamish, this is his first weekend of Highland Games, and that was a pretty decent throw.
Yes, there's not much explosion went into it, but his technique and his footwork was quite nice, yes.
Well, you can see the markings there. It's dropping out around about 73, 74 feet, which is very solid indeed. Mark Felix. Oh, second of Britain's strongest man, but not getting to grips with this at all. Lives in Blackburn, England, and he needs to take the tips of Grant Anderson. Still got a smile on his face, though, as he always does. And it really is a tremendous crowd in this wonderful setting of Scone Palace. Now, this is a man who should do very well here. Neil Eliott, the Scotsman from Helensburgh, and he's got the technique. Hamish, solid throw.
Yes, he's been an amateur athlete for many years. He's won the Scottish Shot Put Championship 12 times, and he's also competed in a lot of Highland Games. So that's out around 70 feet as well.
Well, Eliott not looking overly thrilled with it. He does know that he's up against some top men from around the world. Not least Wout Zijlstra, over 40 years old now, but at 6'6" and 23 stone. He's got so much power. And
that's well over 70 feet. Yes, Wout indeed has had an illustrious career. Third in the world's strongest man.
And he just stepped out at the end there, and it was flagged up as a foul from our referee, Grant Anderson, multiple world champion. So these athletes will have to keep their footwork within the 9-foot boundary with this 28-pound ball of metal. Stefan Solvi Petursson of Iceland from Reykjavik. Again, only 22 years old, and they grow them big in Iceland. It wasn't the fastest movement, Hamish, but
no,
still,
he's a very
bad.
young competitor. He has not got a lot of experience, but no doubt he will learn this technique as well. But he's following a long tradition of exceptionally strong men from Iceland.
Well, of course, everybody remembers John Paul Sigmarsson from the 80s. 4 times world's strongest man, and it's those shoes he has to fill. Now, Mike Zolkjewicz from Springfield, Massachusetts, an All-American discus champion, and this, like the discus, a spinning event. And you can see the 2-kilo discus, when converted to this very heavy implement, still works fairly well for Zolkjewicz.
That was a long throw. You see the 90-foot marker there. It's heading towards that.
Well, the lead flag from the first round was Kyrllo Chuprinin. You saw that Ukrainian flag right out there, and it is nearly 90 feet in distance. And Hamish, this another great discus thrower.
Yes, this is an Olympic discus competitor, a massively strong man weighing 160 kilos body weight, which equates to 26 stones. And he can throw this thing too.
That was huge. Kyrllo Chuprinin outpassed the American flag of Zolkjewicz, and also outpassed Sebastian Wenta, the Highlander Challenge champion, still to come out and throw in this second round. This is a great battle between two top Eastern European competitors. And in Ukraine especially, they have adopted this event. Now Wenta, what does he reply with? Hamish, it's tit for tat, and he has improved.
Yes, I think it's somewhere up near that 90-foot mark as well, but no, the Ukrainian is still out in front.
I think you're right by just a few inches. But look at the way he stops and just belts it with the arm. All the energy transferred into the weight.
This is another enormous man, 6'7" and 26 stone. Second in the world's strongest man contest.
Well, Johannes Arsjo will be trying to emulate Sebastian Wenta and Kyrllo Chuprinin over the next few years. This young, strong man from Sweden, what can he do here? He's had a couple of good rounds, and I think he just faced the wrong way almost at the end there. He had to wrap his arm around his neck.
His feet were not as good as it could have been. He has a lot to learn there, you see. It's a very graceful movement, this 28-pound weight.
Now, Mark Felix, not too graceful in the first couple of rounds, representing Grenada here, his original home country before moving to England. And, it's not the prettiest, is it?
No, we've seen it all now. This is not going to do at all. He's certainly a very strong man. He's, I think he was second in the Britain's strongest man.
Indeed he was, and fourth at World's Strongest Man. So one strong man brings out another very powerful thrower, and it's Neil Eliott. And the Scottish crowd like it, but does David Birkmeyer there, our field referee, think it's good? I'm guessing it's about 75 foot. It's good enough to go ahead of the Dutchman, though.
Yes, it's not too bad at all, 75. Over 80 is superb, and there are even people, very few in the world, who have thrown over 90 feet.
Well, the famous shout of Wout Zijlstra. I'm not sure if it's because he's happy with it or because he's got some pain in his back. He doesn't seem too comfortable at the moment.
Well, Wout is now in the Masters category at 44 years old. But that's not to say you can not be at your best once you're in the 40s.
No, certainly not, Hamish. You in your 70s, you're still looking good. Well, 22 years old, half the age of Wout Zijlstra. And, well, not quite half the distance, but not as good anyway. Much to learn off his veteran competitors. And they do indeed have Highland Games in Reykjavik. It's a very, very beautiful games on the side of a volcanic mountain. And out goes Mike Zolkjewicz.
Yes, that's a high placing, certainly, and a superb technique. Very sound, straight out the middle.
Well, it's not an improvement, though. Gets the right stance. A lovely long pull on the implement there, but I'm afraid he's just not going to come up to the standard of the Ukrainian and the Pole today. Those two men, then, to finish off the final round here. Chuprinin knows that he's got to pull out a big one as Wenta is snapping at his heels. He's about a foot behind the big pole.
Enormous strength here behind this throw.
He attacked it with everything. It's not as far, but a wave to the crowd. He still is in the first position, but for how much longer? And actually, you look there, he fell out the front of the circle as well, so it would have been a no-throw anyway, but it was a good 2 or 3 feet short. Sebastian Wenta then. This guy always has a smile, but he can pull it out the bag when he needs to. That's what he did last year, just beating Gregor Edmunds in the overall competition. What can he do here? Oh no, I think it's come up a foot short. He gave it absolutely everything. David Birkmeyer thinks it's an improvement, but you can clearly see it's a foot or so short. And, well, he gave it a huge pull, and he did manage to stay in, which is very difficult on your third and final throw.
And it's very difficult for a man of that size at 6'7".
A good start then for the big Ukrainian Chuprinin, with the Eastern Europeans already dominating the leaderboard. Mark Felix, well, at least he gave it a whirl. So that means that Kyrllo Chuprinin is leading at the start, but we've still got 5 more events to come, including the heavy stone. Welcome back to the Highland Games. We've seen the mace throw and Kyrllo Chuprinin is in the lead.
Scottish resolve and resourcefulness was renowned. One such man was Robert the Bruce, with just 500 men defeated an oncoming English army of 1,500 at Glentrell by simply pelting them with rocks. Very effective.
Effective indeed, but luckily it's just for sport here at Skåne. And Johannes Årsjö is the first man to putt this 26-pound stone. And Hamish, it's some 10 pounds heavier than the stone we saw in the first heat. And it really is just about the most traditional of all events, isn't it?
Yes, stones have been used for competitions for hundreds of years before it was standardised as a round metal ball. They've been acquired from fast-flowing riverbeds, and the water and the gushing current has smoothed them to a finely glazed, polished consistency.
Well, Årsjö putting middle of the range there. The distances they'll want to be putting for a victory will be up over 35 feet. Now,
yes, this cuts down the distance, the Braemar style it's called, where both feet have to be planted firmly on the ground.
And you have to say, Hamish, it sure does help when you're 6'6" tall and you have arms like our friend here, Wout Zijlstra.
Yes, he can cope with this, and this man too, he's very powerful.
Indeed, huge hands on Kyrllo Chuprinin. It's very hard just to hold it into your neck. Really, you almost have to do a standing putt. If you actually tried to shift for this, it'd probably just fall out, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would, especially the rotational technique. That would not work with a stone of this diameter.
Well, Kyrllo Chuprinin's pulled out a good second round throw here. That's a good 1.5 feet up and getting dangerously close to Sebastian Wenta, the Pole, who leads this competition going into the round 2 here.
Well, Sebastian Wenta, of course, is an Olympic standard shot putter. He's done over 20 metres, so we'd be expecting to see something spectacular from him.
So into the neck it goes, and Wenta, not much bend there, but how much shoulder power.
He has so much power. His technique could certainly be improved on, but the strength is there, you can see.
Indeed, he lifted his back foot off the ground a little early, but when you've got power like that, it doesn't really matter. Now, Mark Felix, they say he has the biggest hands in the world, and it's wrapping round that stone up over 30 feet. And you were saying to me before, Hamish, that you thought 30 feet would be a decent distance for some of the less experienced men.
Oh yes, 30 feet is certainly acceptable because it's a similar weight to the Braemar stone which they putt in this style. And the record there is somewhere in the high 30s.
Well, up and out it goes from Solvi Petursson, who is shaping up to be quite an entertainer as well. The crowd really warming to him. He threw that a bit more like a baseball than a putting of the stone. His elbow in a funny position there. Now, Eliott should be solid at this, shouldn't he? This is his kind of event.
He should be a contender with this, but he's not got it out there at all for a Scottish shot put champion. He's obviously not familiar with the stone. It's a bit unwieldy for him.
Well, dare I say it, he looked uncomfortable with it in his neck. Now, Mike Z, the last man in the competition. Springfield, Massachusetts track and field star. The other famous Springfield resident, of course, Bart Simpson. Out it plops, and Hamish, I think he's about 3rd place, isn't he?
That was a very aggressive and explosive throw.
Sebastian, fantastic. You're doing so well.
Strong legs. No problem.
Still dizzy after that one. Wenta showing that he's still got some strength after the win. But Chuprinin from the Ukraine is chasing him hard. So the leaderboard looks like this. The Eastern European contingent share the top spots for now, with veteran Zijlstra in 4th. When it came to weapons, the Highlanders were really resourceful and fairly inventive. Ian from the clan will show us how.
This is a Lochaber axe taken from the Shepherd's Crook. The difference with this, it's been hammered flat to get a sharp edge, and we've added an axe onto the end of it. Now, these can be about 8 feet tall. Very good for taking horsemen off their horses. We'll give you a quick demonstration.
Love to. Oh, rude. The McNab niche feud is the stuff of legend. The long walk for revenge followed by a bloody battle. So we honour this tale with a new event. It's called the Whiskey Plunder, and it involves carrying whiskey barrels like this, weighing over 300 kilograms as far as possible. Gregor is going to tell us a bit more. Do you reckon there's any whiskey in there? Oh, you could get drunk off that.
The survivors of Clan Niche lived on an island in Loch Earn. They possessed the only boat on the loch. In 1612, the Niches raided the McNab Christmas supplies, which included the all-important whiskey. Seeking revenge, Smooth John McNab summoned his 12 brothers, and carrying a boat through here, Glentarkin, over a 2,000-foot pass, reaching Loch Earn and Niche Island, beheaded the Niches and returned with the all-important whiskey.
Well, on the right, it's Neil Eliott, and he's up against Mark Felix. And Felix definitely has the background in the strength events. So, attacking this early is Mark Felix, over 300 kilos, 700 pounds. And Hamish, both men look like they're going to finish.
Yes, looks an amazing weight and a very heavy object indeed to run down this course with. Mark Felix has the experience in all sorts of strongman competitions.
Eliott seems to be the happier of the two, though. He was very worried about this event. And he just manages to keep his grip all the way to the end. So the time for Mark Felix, 15.3 seconds. Neil Eliott, just under 20.
This is a very unwieldy object. It's a new design. We haven't seen it before in the strongman. And they've both completed the course successfully.
Well, they now have a time to chase, and it's Johannes Årsjö, near of camera. On the far side, Stefan Solvi Petursson, and Årsjö is absolutely attacking this. Remember, Mark Felix, 15.3 seconds, and that has come and gone. Brilliant there from Årsjö. It's got to be sub 15. And it is, confirmation. 14.28 seconds. Stefan Solvi Petursson shakes his head. He's upset, but really, Hamish, you can't be too disappointed. Johannes was just so fast.
No, this young man seems to have come into his own, and he's obviously very, very strong and competed in this sort of thing before too.
Well, talking about men who've competed before, on the left, it's Wout Zijlstra, who's strapped himself in. On the far side, Mike Zolkjewicz. Zolkjewicz was really dreading this event. The discus thrower, and he's dragging the barrels at the back there. He hasn't got his grip right at all, has he?
Well, Wout, we remember, it was third in the world's strongest man in the early 2000s.
But he's still doing the same mistake. Both men are dragging.
At the time, it looks much slower, although he has completed the course successfully.
Well, you're right, Hamish. It's 22.98 seconds for Zijlstra.
Yes.
And Zolkjewicz doesn't finish at all.
No, he's been having problems with this one, the Highland Games athlete.
So our final pairing, and it's a couple of giants, isn't it? A couple of Eastern European.
Both 26 stone men here, and they've done all this sort of thing. This is the second strongest man in the world.
Well, Hamish, what is going on there with Kyrllo Chuprinin? This is all Sebastian Wenta, and you know what? I don't think he's going to beat Johannes Årsjö's time, no!
No, he hasn't.
As for Kyrllo Chuprinin, he stood up and then staggered and put it down again.
Well, we don't know. He may have suffered a slight injury or something. There's something gone wrong there.
I sincerely hope not. He finishes it in the end. Oh, he's showing that the angle was all wrong. You can tell that he must have picked it up and it just dug straight into the ground.
Yes, you have to get the point of balance right first.
Well, Sebastian Wenta won't care. He'll feign interest, but for him, it's another victory.
So a great result then for the newcomer Johannes Årsjö with a blistering time. Chuprinin disappoints, ending up in 7th. So Wenta reclaims the lead with young gun Johannes moving up to 3rd. Now, it might surprise you that tossing the caber is also a very strong Scandinavian tradition, particularly in the Viking stronghold of Gotland. The challenge today is for the guys to throw the tree trunks for distance, and this event is probably rooted in the gathering of wood to build Viking longships. Now, the McNabs are infamous in these parts, none more so than Francis. Bit of a scary looking chap. Is it just me or those eyes following you around the room?
Following Culloden, Francis, otherwise known as the McNab, refused to pay the taxes imposed upon Scottish chiefs and put the fear of God into the English tacksmen by getting them drunk on whisky and showing them the beheading pits.
Ew, scary stuff, Gregor. Well, Mark Felix was unable to control the caber and failed to make a throw at all. As was Johannes Årsjö. There just is no substitute for experience.
Stefan Solvi Petursson says he needs some magic. Now this enormous caber isn't being tossed for accuracy like it was in Heat 1, the traditional style. This is more about brute force. It's being thrown for distance, so they have to run towards the trig and try and belt this 150-pound, 20-foot caber for distance.
Now, there is a technique in this event. It's the very opposite of what you would be doing with the big caber tossed for accuracy. It should be picked up and held low and thrown outwards rather than upwards.
Well, he seemed to do that very well. And he's always got a comment for the crowd. He attacked the board here. He was still a good 8 or 9 feet away from the board, Hamish, and that's lost distance.
He's far out. You should have your feet right up to the board.
So, following on from Petursson, it will be Neil Eliott having to battle with this caber. Now, the Scotsman, much more used to the traditional method of accuracy. Already he's holding it high, isn't he?
Yes, that's a mistake. He shouldn't be holding it up there.
Gives it a good belt, though. And somewhere around the 38-foot mark for Neil Eliott. Petersson's distance, well, it was about 30 foot. Gives it a good belt, and he is much closer to the trig. Mike Zolkjewicz. The American picks it up without a problem. He's got a big pad in his shoulder there because it is very uncomfortable running with this caber. So attacking Eliott's distance, and he likes it. He's nailed somewhere around the 39-foot mark, so it's troubling Eliott. Now, Hamish, this really has to be one for the giants, isn't it?
Oh,
and
yes.
Of course.
Wout should know what he's doing here. There's only a limit to how far this thing can go. But he's got the height and the long levers.
And plenty power. Out it goes. After each one of those roars, he grabs his back in agony. But using 2 feet to explode out. And his distance, again, around the 39-foot mark. This is going to be very interesting to go to the scoreboards at the end. Can Chuprinin just put it out of sight and send it up to over 40 feet? But he's got to get it under control first. All that weight up above him. 9/10 of it above the shoulder. And, of course, the heavy end's up the top.
Yes, he's certainly holding it low. It could be lower yet. He seems to have lost it. It's gone too upright. You need to throw it out the way.
Well, Hamish, he just overcame that with colossal arm power there, because that is actually the lead so far. Just goes to show you, in this kind of event, being incredibly strong can overcome technique.
Well, Sebastian Wenta seems to be very relaxed, whistling away before his attempt.
Whistle while you work. Big Sebastian from Gdansk, right up on the Baltic Sea, getting to grips with this huge caber. Is that little dance a Highland fling, no less, from Big Sebastian? Chuprinin watching on there, enjoying the show, but now it's the turn of Wenta, and it's good. And the big man's got some moves. But it doesn't look quite as far as Chuprinin's throw. You can see he was feigning that it was too difficult, but then you realised, just a joker. He really is a great spirit, Sebastian. And he just left it a little late to actually take the victory here, didn't he, Hamish?
Yes, I think he's been playing around maybe too much.
So, predictably, the big chaps, Chuprinin, Wenta and Zijlstra, take the top 3 spots, with a respectable performance from local lad Neil Eliott. Årsjö's lack of experience means he falls out of the top 4, with veteran Zijlstra taking full advantage. Weight for height does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a 25 kilogram weight that they've got to throw over the bar. They get 3 attempts until they fail, and the bar just keeps on rising.
The McNabb stronghold was close to the town of Kyrllo and the beautiful falls of Dockart, and their burial ground was close by. Here lie the remains of smooth John McNabb and the celebrated Francis. The McNabb stronghold at Ellenrain was burnt to the ground in Cromwell's time. The Highland Games was training for the hard lives these Highlanders led.
Well, in the weight throw, everyone threw the 14'6" without much trouble, except for Grenada's Mark Felix and Scotsman Neil Eliott. So, with the bar raised to 15'6", we join the action with Petursson to throw first.
Well, 15 feet 6 inches is a huge throw by anyone's standards, and the Icelander's the first man to go through. Hamish, great use of the legs.
Yes, for a young man of 22, 15 feet 6 is a phenomenal height, and this man has a lot of potential for the future.
Well, Årsjö of Sweden. Oh, whatever you can do, I can do better. Up and over.
The same age, 22.
It's incredible, isn't it? Put them together, they make Wout Zijlstra's age. Though he wouldn't like me reminding everyone that. And that's got to be clear by a foot. Now, what can Wout Zijlstra do? The man with the world record at this implement. Oh, easy. Conserving his energy, and the world record, that little flag on the left-hand side of the bar, is up at 17 feet 1 inch.
Well, it's amazing he can still approach this record at 44 years old. He was incredible at this event.
No problem for Sebastian Wenta. It's not even warm-up height for him yet.
He makes it look easy. He is so strong and he's so tall.
He has just so much time to pull on the weight, being that tall. We could well see the world record go today with this lineup of guys. Now, Mike Z, he is no slouch either. Watch this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, clear.
Great pull with the back. A real athlete, Mike Zolkjewicz, who works as a personal trainer back home. Can't imagine he gets his clients doing this too much, though. He's got to be worth another 6 inches there. Next up, then, it's Kyrllo Chuprinin, the man who has thighs bigger than most people's waists, and wow, he nailed that one, Hamish.
Yes, a massive amount of daylight between the weight and the top of the bar.
Well, let's have a look at that in replay. You can see the flag on the left-hand side up at 17 feet 1, and that is Very, very close to the world record. If only the bar was higher, of course. It isn't, but now it's getting raised and we go to 16 feet, 6 inches.
16.6 is an amazing height for any athlete in the world.
Well, to give you an idea, it's a foot higher than a double-decker bus in England, and Stefan Solvi Petursson does not go clear. He went up and down. He definitely has the height, though. It's got to, just like in high jumping, go over the bar. Now, Årsjö, the Swede. Oh, yeah. This man is having a great tournament. We didn't even have him down as the dark horse. To be honest, we had him down as being a real also-ran, but not at all. Mace clatters the bar. A solid effort, though. He looks like he could get this.
He's very powerful at this event in the past, and this is a high height, so we're into 16.6 now.
Oh, it really is. Now, Wout Zijlstra. What can the big man do? His world record's up there over 17 feet, and no, maybe not today. Well, what went wrong there, Hamish? He just didn't have the height.
He's not far away. He can do it yet. Bearing in mind his age, of course, but that's not to say he can't improve yet.
No, indeed not. And now's the turn of Kyrllo Chuprinin. His knees strapped to help give him some support, and wearing rather fetching lycra as well. Now, Hamish, that was a beautiful clearance.
It's a massive throw altogether, and he's still well above the bar.
Well, one giant out, one giant in. As Sebastian Wenta chalks up the handle, we can see just how much he cleared it by. Again, it's world record height, or close to it. So, the big pole. Ooh, now that's a surprise. You didn't see that coming, did you? After his last clearance at 15.6 going so well. And the bar goes up at 17 feet. Now we're just a few inches away from that world record. And Årsjö is the man to first attempt 17 feet. Ooh. No. The young Swede will have many more competitions in the future to get up near that world record, but for today...
No, there's no one in the world ever thrown that height at 22 years old.
So the door is wide open for Kyrllo Chuprinin to take the victory here on his own. He's already guaranteed first equal. And Hamish, that went up and down.
Straight up and down. It didn't turn over the bar. There is a skill and technique. He just missed this one.
So a bit of a mixed afternoon, but you've done well. You had a great weight for height and good with the old whiskey plunder.
Yeah, it's been my lucky day today. I never tried this stuff before, so I'm very happy with the results. So yeah.
And how are you enjoying Scotland?
I love it. It's like in the movie Braveheart, almost.
It is. It's just like Braveheart.
Yeah, so it's great.
Now, how's your wrestling?
I know. I never tried wrestling, and so we find out in a couple of minutes. So.
Okay, let's have a little warm up. Come on, go. Right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go. No, go on. No, keep going. Come on,
lady.
Come on. Yeah, he's rubbish.
Yeah.
Rubbish at wrestling he may be, but he's pretty handy at weight for height, sharing top spot with Chuprinin. So the leaderboard looks like this. Chuprinin, Wenta and Årsjö take the top 3 spots, with a real battle for 4th playing out. Join us after the break. Welcome back to the Highland Games. Loads more action on the way. The wrestling is simple. It's all about brute force. They've got to get the guy down on the floor or out of the ring. No spitting, no biting, no kicking, no punching. Play it nicely, boys.
Wrestling is the most ancient form of man-to-man combat. It involves cunning as well as strength, just like the old McNabb, who after losing money on an English cockfight declared he could return with a Scottish bird to beat the Lambeth cock. He had a surprise for the London set. This is the Cock of the North.
Well, Mark Felix will have to be fairly eagle-eyed in this event, as Kyrllo Chuprinin is a bit of a master at wrestling. Oh, drops down low and shoves out Felix. It hasn't been a good day for Mark, has it, Hamish?
No, this was his chance here to prove himself in the real strongman event, the wrestling.
But he just didn't get his technique right. In fact, wearing socks there on wet grass probably wasn't too sensible. Well, what a difficult task for Neil Eliott to face up to, taking on the giant Sebastian Wenta. And he's giving a good account of himself. Look at Eliott.
Yes, that's a real fighting spirit there from the Scot.
It's all smiles at the end. Well, maybe not for Sebastian. Grabbing his shoulder there. I hope he's not injured. But Eliott trying to use his speed before being bundled out by the giant. This should be an interesting fight between two young men in front of this beautiful palace. What a backdrop for this Nordic battle. The Icelander against the Swede. Oh! Stefan Solvi Petursson disappointed with himself there. Just his ring orienteering got all confused. But it was a good throw from the Swede. Look at the frustration on the Icelander's face. Under the watchful eye of the great Dr. Douglas Edmunds, our referee here. So, Wout Zijlstra takes on Mike Z, and ooh, was that 50-50? Certainly the aggressor was Zijlstra. And it looks like Zijlstra's been given the nod there. It was very close on the feet, touching. Zijlstra goes through to the semi-final. This is the first of the two semis then, and Kyrllo Chuprinin takes on Sebastian Wenta. Now this is the unstoppable force against the immovable object. Now they're both vying for the grip on the head of the other man. This is quite a dance, isn't it, Hamish?
Yeah, both men are the same weight, and we can't really... Oh, it looked very close. I think
it looked a bit fishy to me, Hamish.
Yeah.
I think there was a pact going on there. There's been a few pacts at Skåne Palace over the years, and now we've just seen one between Poland and Ukraine. Look at this. I wonder if Wenta's pulling up lame with the shoulder injury.
So, Sebastian, you've pulled out. What's wrong?
My problem shoulder. Tomorrow, final, ready.
So you'll be ready for the final?
I'm sorry today. No final Chuprinin. Tomorrow, final.
Tomorrow you'll win again. The champion again.
Tomorrow, 100%.
Well, we'll forgive you, Sebastian. We look forward to seeing that final as well. He will be in it, no doubt about that. Johannes Årsjö on the left, attacking Wout Zijlstra in this second semi-final. And look at that, bundled out by Årsjö. You wouldn't have bet on that, would you, Hamish?
No, I wouldn't. I was expecting Wout there to handle this situation, but there you go. The young fellow, half his age, has put him out of the ring.
So our 7th, 8th place playoff here. Mark Felix trying to get back some pride against Mike Zolkjewicz. Well, he's being pushed back again, but now he's on the attack. And, well, it looks like he might have hurt his shoulder a little bit there. But the plasterer from Blackburn has at least finished on a flurry here.
Yes, he's trying to make amends in the very last stages in the competition. And he does it.
So our 5th, 6th playoff. These two big men facing each other. Can the Scot, gets thrown to the ground. I was hoping he would use that determination, but, well, size is just so important in wrestling. Despite being nearly 20 stones and 6'3", Neil Eliott is considerably the smaller man. So this is our final. The 3rd, 4th playoff has been made redundant now that Wenta has pulled out with shoulder injury. So Kyrllo Chuprinin attacking here. He's got about 30 kilos in body weight advantage over the young Swede. And he's having to fight it properly. Best of 3, and I think the Swede, he went down first there. Certainly, yes. Chuprinin was on the attack. Well, Hamish, talk us through this. It's close, isn't it?
The first man on his back is definitely the loser. He's not only just on his back, he's also out of the ring.
Indeed, it's 2 reasons to lose in this competition. Well, Chuprinin isn't going for out-and-out power here. He knows he's up against a tough fight. He's trying to use more his wrestling tactics, and now he's got a leg. That was the opportunity, but look, he slipped. Even Chuprinin's a little surprised, and we have a real contest on our hands here, Hamish. It's 1 apiece.
Yes, scenes of high drama indeed in the final of the wrestling.
Well, he was butting away like a ram into Årsjö's body. Got that leg, and that really should have won it for Chuprinin. But it's thrown a lifeline to the young Swede. So it comes down to this. Very, very exciting here, and very tiring for these guys. Chuprinin blowing hard. The young Swede more aggressive now. Goes in. Oh, would you believe it? And he comes in for a little extra on the ground, or is that just a friendly cuddle? Either way, it's ended in a victory for Johannes Årsjö. And that'll be some great points for him. It's been a tremendous fight in this second heat. What a way to finish the wrestling.
Okay, Johannes, great result there. Best of 3. Did you expect to beat Kyrllo?
No, I didn't want to go up against him because he looks very frightened and like a madman. But he's got a big heart. So.
Like a man possessed. He even got the old claws out. Look at the cut on the back of the neck.
Yeah, that's the female side of him.
Looking forward to the final tomorrow?
Yeah. It's going to be great, and I could never expected this, so it's very nice.
Right, go and get an early night. I want you on good form tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So a great performance then from our new boy, Årsjö. He takes first spot with Chuprinin and Zijlstra in second and third. So confirmation then of the 4 through to the final. It's the Ukraine's Chuprinin, Poland's Wenta, Arsjo from Sweden, and the Netherlands' Zijlstra. It's been an epic battle. We've enjoyed every minute of it. We hope you have too, and we'll see you next time for the final of the Highlander Challenge.